right, so get this. We're about to dive deep into 10 years of movies. We're comparing two Oscar ceremonies, 2010 and 2020.
Oh, that's cool. We'll see how things change, like the academies, the kinds of movies that people loved all over the world.
Exactly. And our sources for this deep dive, we're using data straight from the Academy Awards websites for those years. The 80-second ceremony for 2010, and then the 90-second for 2020.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how the industry itself shifted, what kinds of films got nominated, and, also just international talent, how that was recognized.
Yeah, for sure. A lot changed in those 10 years, right? So first, think back to 2010, The Hurt Locker.
Oh, yeah.
Big year for that one. That intense war drama, the bomb disposal team in Iraq.
Yeah, that was a big one. 6 Oscars out of 9 nominations. Best Picture.
Wow.
Best Director for Catherine Bigelow, which was historic. First woman to get that award.
Amazing. And I remember it so vividly. Everyone was talking about it. The Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
It was like the critics' favorite, praised for, just being so real and the way it showed the mental, the toll that war takes.
Yeah, it really had an impact.
But let's not forget the other Best Picture nominees, right? We have a mix, of different genres.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You had Avatar, super visually stunning, didn't get Best Picture, but it swept all the technical awards. Then there's The Blind Side, a sports trauma, heartwarming, really resonated with a lot of people. And Inglourious Basterds, which was, classic Tarantino.
Yeah.
History and action, all mixed up.
Yeah, Inglourious Basterds, that was something else. And of course, who can forget Up, right? The masterpiece, the animated one.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, it actually got 2 awards, right? Best Animated Feature and Best Original Score.
Yeah. Pretty rare.
Very rare.
Michael Giacchino, he did the score for Up, and it was phenomenal. Really captured everything, the joy, the adventure, but then also those, really sad parts.
Yeah. It was perfect. And, speaking of performances, we have to talk about Jeff Bridges. He took home Best Actor for Crazy Heart. That was his role as a...
a washed-up country singer. Yeah. Washed-up country singer.
And then Sandra Bullock, right. Everybody just loved her as Leanne Tuohy in, The Blind Side. That was her first Oscar.
It was.
Yeah.
Best Actress, do you think those performances were, what the Academy was looking for back then?
It's interesting because looking back, it seems they favored performances that felt really real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Authentic and, of course, emotionally resonant, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think both Bridges and Bullock really got into their characters, made all their struggles, their triumphs, something we could all connect with.
It's true. A great performance, just stays with you. But we've been talking about 2010 for a while. Let's move on to 2020, a year of breaking barriers, Parasite. Yeah, Parasite, a total game changer. The first non-English language film to ever win Best Picture. It was a big deal. Showed how Hollywood was, changing, becoming more open.
Yeah. And Bong Joon-ho's speeches, they were so, full of joy and humbleness.
Yeah.
Really great.
I mean, and think about the competition in 2020. The Irishman.
Oh, yeah.
Scorsese, huge crime saga.
Yeah.
And then Tarantino again, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And, of course, 1917.
Yes.
So visually stunning, that war film.
So many good films.
Oh, and don't forget Jojo Rabbit, Taika Waititi and his, take on World War II, satirical.
Yeah.
And Greta Gerwig's adaptation of Little Women, that classic. 2020 had it all, right? Genres, storytelling, you name it.
It did. And then in the acting categories, just as competitive, Joaquin Phoenix, becoming the Joker, it was incredible. Really disturbing. Earned him Best Actor.
Haunting performance.
Yeah. And Renee Zellweger is Judy Garland and Judy. That was a comeback. Best Actress for that one.
Yeah, very powerful.
So many talented people. So many great movies. Now, we've only, touched the surface here, highlighting these Best Picture winners and some other, big ones. But how do all the nominees in other categories, how do they compare?
Right. That's where the real deep dive starts, I think. Let's look at Best Picture for both years.
Okay.
See what they had in common and, how different they were. The movies that got the Academy's attention.
Okay, let's do it.
So Best Picture nominees, right?
Yep.
2010, alongside The Hurt Locker, it was a real mix. We had Avatar, all the visual stuff, Blind Side, real heart-tugger.
Right, those were, the big hits.
Oh, yeah.
Appealing to, everybody. But then you had films like District 9.
Oh, yeah.
Sci-fi with a message and education.
Yeah.
That coming-of-age story set in London. back in the 60s.
Right. And you can't forget the Coen brothers. A serious man, dark comedy, and up in the air.
Oh, yeah. Up in the air.
Dramedy about, well, corporate downsizing.
Well,
Quite a range, huh?
definitely a range. A little something for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, 2020.
Yeah.
Parasite, of course, leading the way.
Yeah.
But different. Right.
Yeah, different tone for sure.
Yeah.
Joker, a thriller, gets kind of dark looking at society.
Right. More serious.
Marriage Story, super raw, a marriage falling apart.
Yeah, those were heavier, yeah.
For sure. But then you also had Ford v. Ferrari, that classic underdog story, racing cars, and Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, that one felt nostalgic.
Totally. Like a love letter to, old Hollywood.
Yeah.
And we can't forget 1917.
Yes.
The technical stuff, amazing, putting you right in World War I.
Yeah.
So 2020, it had stuff everyone liked, but I think, more films looking at, like, tougher issues.
Yeah, different kind of storytelling, more challenging, I guess.
Yeah.
How things changed, over 10 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, but let's zoom in on Best Director.
All right.
Catherine Bigelow's win for The Hurt Locker.
Huge.
Huge deal. Big moment for, women filmmakers. Yeah. Looking at the other nominees, though, we see some familiar names. James Cameron for Avatar, Quentin Tarantino, Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, yeah, the big names.
And Lee Daniels got nominated for Precious.
Yeah. Powerful film.
Tough topics.
Yeah.
Poverty, abuse.
Yeah, hard-hitting stuff.
And Jason Reitman already had Juno. Thank You for Smoking. Those hits.
Yeah, he was on rope.
He got nominated for Up in the Air.
It seemed like they were recognizing, the big names, but also those newer directors.
Yeah, the rising stars.
Exactly. Okay, now jump to 2020.
Good time.
Bong Joon-ho winning for Parasite. Bigelow, not just, international, but also the way he mixed genres. Like, what even is that movie?
I know, right? Thriller, satire, family drama, all in one.
Right. And the other nominees that year, veterans and some newer folks. Scorsese again, The Irishman, Tarantino again, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But Todd Phillips for Joker, kind of surprising, right? Because he did comedies before.
Yeah, that was unexpected.
And Sam Mendes, he did that Bond film, Skyfall, got nominated for 1917, showed he could do, anything.
Yeah, different kinds of films. Interesting how some directors, they just, they keep making Oscar-worthy movies.
Yeah.
While others come out of nowhere with something new.
Totally. Okay, now the acting categories. 2010, Jeff Bridges finally won.
Yeah.
After 4 nominations? For Crazy Heart.
It was about time.
Felt like, his whole career led to that.
It did. He was great in The Big Lebowski, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, The Fabulous Baker Boys.
Oh, yeah.
And then that role, the country singer, struggling with addiction. It was real. It was sad.
Yeah, it got to you.
Everyone loved it. And speaking of audience favorites, Sandra Bullock, Best Actress for The Blind Side. But tough competition that year.
Oh, yeah. Helen Mirren, she won a few years before for The Queen, nominated for The Last Station.
Right. And Carey Mulligan.
Yeah, she was new. That was her breakout role in An Education.
Yeah. And, of course, Meryl Streep. She already had the most nominations ever.
Yeah, she's in a category all her own.
Nominated that year for Julie and Julia.
Okay, now 2020.
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix, totally transformed in Joker. And he got his first Oscar.
Yeah, after 3 nominations before.
Like Arthur Fleck, wow. Physically, emotionally demanding. That performance, stayed with you.
It did. It's interesting how he, really got into the character.
Yeah, method acting.
And Renee Zellweger coming back as Judy Garland in Judy. That was impressive.
So good. She got Garland's, the vulnerability, the strength. It was sad, but also inspiring.
Yeah. And 2010, Best Actress, so much talent. Cynthia Erivo.
Oh, yeah, she already had a Tony Award for The Color Purple.
Right. Nominated for Harriet, playing Harriet Tubman.
And Scarlett Johansson. She was nominated twice.
Wow.
Best Actress for Marriage Story and Best Supporting Actress for Jojo Rabbit.
Amazing how actors, they change over time.
Yeah.
Different roles, showing what they can do.
So we've looked at, some of the big categories for both years. And what strikes me is just how many different kinds of movies the Academy picks.
Yeah.
Even within, Best Picture, Best Director, you've got huge blockbusters, tiny indie films, historical epics, small personal stories. It's like the Oscars are a snapshot of all of filmmaking.
Yeah, and it's cool to see those filmmakers, like Tarantino, Scorsese, they're still making great stuff.
Yeah, they're always there.
But then these new voices come in and shake things up. Before we, finish this part of the deep dive.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Good.
We talked about all these winners, all these nominees.
Yeah.
But were there any people or films that were nominated both in 2010 AD 2020?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like who stayed in Hollywood for that whole decade?
That's a good cliffhanger. See if you can spot those connections, those threads running through, 10 years of movies. We'll be back soon to reveal the answers and, wrap up our whole Oscars journey with some final thoughts, maybe some recommendations.
Yeah. Okay, we're back. Did you figure it out? Any repeat nominees from 2010 all the way to 2020?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, to be making movies that good for that long and still getting the Academy's attention.
Totally. It shows staying power, And I did some digging, and, well, there's some cool connections. First off, Best Director, both Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese, nominated both years.
Wow. Those two are, giants in the industry.
They are?
Tarantino, with all that, stylized violence, the dialogue, those homages to older films,
Yeah.
and Scorsese, those big crime stories. So gritty, those characters, so complex. It makes sense they've been around for so long.
Yeah. It's like they each have their own, spot in
Yeah.
Hollywood, and they just keep getting better, pushing the boundaries. What about actors, though? Did you find any who got nominated both year?
I did. Remember Scarlett Johansson, 2 nominations in 2020?
Yeah.
Well, she was also nominated back in 2010, Best Supporting Actress, for Lost in Translation.
Wow, that's pretty cool. From a supporting role to, a double nomination as a lead actress 10 years later.
That shows talent and how your career can change in Hollywood.
Okay, so some interesting links between those 2 years.
Yeah.
But thinking bigger picture now, what did we learn from all this? How's Hollywood changed? What is the Academy like now compared to then?
Well, one thing that's clear is, international cinema. Parasite winning in 2020. That was huge. Like a new era, more global,
Yeah, it seems like they're more open to movies from anywhere, in any language, not just Hollywood stuff.
Right. And I think that's got to be partly because of, streaming services,
Oh, no.
Netflix, Amazon, all those. They make it easy to watch movies from all over.
So true. The way we watch movies has changed a lot, and it's interesting that the Academy, they're changing too, maybe because of that.
Yeah, I think so. But besides that, what else? I'd say there's still that focus on, great acting. Doesn't matter what kind of movie or how much it cost.
Yeah, like both years, we saw those actors who just became their characters.
Right.
So real, so vulnerable. It was powerful.
Yeah, whether it was Jeff Bridges as that country singer or Joaquin Phoenix, going crazy as the Joker. You don't forget those performances.
You don't.
Yeah.
And it feels like the technical stuff, it's great, the visuals, special effects,
Yeah, still important.
but it's got to have that heart, those emotions to really win, right?
Totally. Like all that technical stuff, it's like the icing on the cake.
Yeah,
But the cake itself, it's got to be good.
perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, time for the final part, our tradition, movie recommendations.
Yeah.
Based on all this, what would you recommend from either year?
This is always tough. So many good ones. But okay, 2010, I go with Inception.
Oh, Inception. Christopher Nolan, right?
Yeah. Such a mind trip. Those dream sequences, the action, the story, so complicated.
I know. You really had to pay attention.
Yeah. And then the ending, it was like, whoa, people were talking about it for weeks.
Right. What was real, what wasn't.
And my pick for 2020, Sound of Metal, Riz Ahmed, amazing performance. He plays a drummer who, loses his hearing.
Oh, yeah. Sound of Metal was so good. About loss, but also adapting, finding new ways to live.
And the way they do the sound, it's incredible. It really puts you in his head.
So good. Well, I think that wraps up our Oscars journey. We looked at these 2 ceremonies, found those hidden connections, and, saw how filmmaking has changed.
Yeah, and as always, we leave you with something to think about. What movies from the past 10 years, what really stuck with you? What stories stayed in your head long after you watched them? Movies are powerful. They can take us to different places, show us these incredible characters, make us think differently. So keep watching, keep exploring, and keep talking about movies.